Hey guys, welcome back. In this video we're going to go through input fields and selectors. So basically little checkboxes and radio buttons and switches on our UI that allows us to interact with our application. So to get started, what we're going to do is we're going to refactor out some of this logic here down in the body field. Now this body field is within our scaffold widget. So we're basically just going to replace everything in the body with a new container, because we kind of want something that logically defines everything that's within this area here. So below our app bar and above our bottom navigation bar. So now within our container, we're going to have a padding constraint. And this is just going to be a const edge insets. You'll see this used a lot through the course. Basically, it allows us to set a barrier around the outside of the object that no widgets are able to go through. And we're going to set it to be 20 pixels. And this basically means that 20 pixels on all sides here are going to be inset, so widgets won't overflow onto them. Next, we're going to have a child object here. And this is going to be a new column. And column and a row is very similar to how you'd expect it to work. You've got columns, you've got rows, and everything on the screen here works like a grid. Now within our column, we're going to define children. Now children allows us to define multiple widgets in an array that we want to stack. So in this case, we're going to have a stack of different widgets that run down the page. So to start with, we're going to put our hello world back in. So we'll have a new text, and the new text is just going to be hello world. And then we're also going to have we're going to add a text field. So we're going to go new text field, and this text field needs to have a few different attributes defined. To start with, we're going to define a decoration, and the decoration is just going to take a new input decoration. And the input decoration is where we're able to define some flair that goes around that input. So we're going to define that there is no border for starters. Input decoration or input border dot none, and we're going to have some hint text. So this is sort of some like opaque text that goes over the top of the box that alerts the user to the fact that a text box actually exists there. We're going to have please enter text. Cool, so we're going to save that, and we should see the hello world pops back up, and we now have a text field here which we're able to type into. Whoops, and the little bar comes up the bottom there. So we're able to type in there, and that pretty much all works as expected. So next we're going to look at how we can add in some checkboxes. So again, just below this text field here, we're going to add a new checkbox. The new checkbox needs a value. We're going to set it to be true, and we have to define its onChanged method. So this is basically, it can trigger a function to be executed when someone makes a change to the state of the checkbox. So we'll define it here, but we're not actually going to do anything with it. And that's just going to be bool value, and then just going to leave the function empty. I'll bring this back in line. We'll hit save, and we should see a checkbox appear on the screen. Since we're not actually handling the onChanged value, we can click it, but nothing will happen. We're going to now look at how we can add a radio button, for example. So we go new radio int. So we're basing the selector of the radio button based on an integer value. So we're going to set the value of this radio button is going to be equal to 0. The group value is going to be equal to 0. So within the group, it's equal to 0. So we could set another one that has equal to 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then as we toggle between the different radio buttons, we can update the state of every other radio button. So if we select group 4's radio button, group 1, 2, and 3 will obviously be deselected too, as long as they're assigned as part of the same group. Cool. So then we will have a onChanged, and this is again just sort of overriding the function call. We're passing it nothing. Cool. So we'll save that again. We should see our radio button appear. Perfect. And then finally, and this is sort of just to give you a really, really brief example of the different sort of input fields that are available within Flutter. We'll use them more in depth later on in the course if we need to. We'll go new. So mostly to get you kind of get your head around how widgets work and how easy it is to sort of structure them within the grid. So we're going to add a new switch, and a switch is very similar to a checkbox. We'll have a value which is going to be set to, we'll set it to false this time. And we have to define its onChange method as well, which we're going to do pretty much exactly the same as how we set up the checkbox, and just have an empty field. We'll hit save, and we should now have a switch here, which we can drag left and right. Fantastic. Now in the next video, we're going to look at a variety of different buttons that we can add to the UI. So I'll see you in that video.